Last panel discussion for the day, driving efficiency and maximizing value strategies for managing cost and optimizing ROI. For this, I would like to introduce our moderator for the session, Mr. Anik Basu, Vice President Moglix. Along with that, I would request you to request all the panelists to be on the dais. Mr. Subodh Nagarsekar, Vice President Procurement, Rentokil Initial. Mr. Sachin Tapole, Global Head IT Procurement, UPL. Mr. Srinivasan Damodaran, Head Procurement, Piramal Capital and Housing Finance Limited. Mr. Nikhil Yagnic, Head of Procurement, India Roquette. Mr. Bhushan Bannur, Vice President Sourcing, Tata Consumer Products. Mr. Avinash Deshpande, VP Procurement, Reliance Industries Limited. Can we have a huge round of applause for all the panelists and our moderator?
So, again, it's a privilege to be part of the sessions here. We have a very interesting topic, I think, which really means business, because we heard a lot of on the strategy side. We heard about ESG, how Scope 3 can, or other sustainability can figure in the ways we manage our processes, and we go into the next I would say, paradigm towards next paradigms of procurement. So today, this session right now is about how do we drive cost efficiency and manage to optimize ROI also, right? So, as I said, this is a very topical issue. Multiple panelists in earlier sessions also said that ultimately it's how much cost delta that the procurement team can create. But more and more it's of value to realize here that only cost will take you so far. There's a limitation to that that viewpoint, right? Unless you have figured out that how am I doing this in a sustainable way, at the same time I'm taking care of my broad organizational goals, right? The way the business wants to get transformed. So if I'm not aligning myself to that, the strategy will not carry us far. So interestingly, we have a very esteemed set of panelists here. So before we kind of jump into it, sorry. So first question, I will start with Nikhil here. Nikhil is from Roquette. So Nikhil, the question to you is, what are the strategies that we can adopt which can help us drive cost efficiency as well as build quality or help us to manage quality at the same time? What are the interesting strategies that can be adopted?
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Avik, for the question. It's a very delicate balance, specifically for a procurement, organization, and I think for the larger organization as well. So I would go about saying that, first of all, as a procurement, I mean, we are no longer in this context of quality and price. I think we are no longer an organization which would be buying, products and services. It goes a little bit more into a strategic management of the spend that is under us. And I think that's where the concept around quality also comes in. And this aspect of quality and price, to me, it actually extends beyond procurement to a larger organization goal as well in terms of value creation. So today I'll talk about a few strategies, that in my experience we have tried and implemented, and which has resulted in sort of managing this balance a little bit better. So to start with, I think the first thing that I'll talk about on quality side is to arrive at a right quality. I mean, what do you call as a right quality? And I think that is the defining point when we talk about the balance between cost and quality. So when I say right quality, I mean, in our procurement, folks understand it more like as a demand management. So it starts with the point where, you understand what your customer needs. That basically translates into what we need to provide to our customer. And then we arrive at the quality that we are expecting from our vendors or our suppliers. So it is very critical to identify that, and I think that is a very starting point for arriving at a right balance. Now, I'll give you an example. I mean, we are an organization that works with different kind of customers. We have industrial customers, food customers, pharma customers. the expectation for quality would be very different across the segments. And I think that should derive our, our quality parameters that we would give it to our suppliers. I mean, say for an example, if I'm buying a packaging material, the kind of reliability, the kind of specification that I would have for an industrial customer versus food versus pharma will be very different. So I think first thing is to arrive at that right quality, and I think eventually that right quality will lead us to a right balance of price as well. So that is one. The second aspect is, I mean, one of the speakers right before this discussion spoke about the strategic supplier relationship. And I think there is a lot of leverage. There's a lot of leverage in that relationship when we talk about this balance of quality and price. Because, I'm a firm believer that our suppliers know a lot more than us about their product and their business. And I think it is always good to go back and understand from their expertise as to how to sort of balance between the cost and quality. And a very simple example, I think, say one of the parameters in our specification and our quality parameters could be very trivial for us. But in order to achieve that parameter, our suppliers might be doing a lot of work and incurring a lot of cost. So there is an opportunity to evaluate and reevaluate as to what that parameter should be optimally with the right balance of cost as well. And then, optimize that cost right there. And another aspect of the supplier relationship is lying under the transparency. Our vendors know better in terms of their processes what are the risks associated with quality. So, that transparency build a lot of trust in terms of identifying that risk, communicating, and eventually mitigating that risk. And I think transparency goes both ways. So when we also need to be able to transparently communicate what our parameters are, what do we expect from quality, and how are we measuring it. Now, being from a commodity business, I mean, I would like to also quickly touch upon this quality aspect on the products and services that are highly commoditized. If, say, your customer needs a specific quality requirement, which is currently not provided by, say, most of the vendors in the industry because it is very commoditized, I mean, you end up buying whatever is available. But if there is a specific need for a particular quality or, say, SLA or KPI in your product or services, it becomes very critical to analyze the cost of that because, otherwise you may end up paying a lot more than what, the other commoditized market is paying. So it's very important to then understand that cost and look at it from two factors. One is like, what is the total cost of quality, which means, what is the cost of poor quality if you buy, not buy that specific parameter in that commodity. And also, what is the cost of the, buying itself. So I think internally we have to evaluate and be aware of what that cost is and whether our customer is willing to pay that cost of that differentiation. That is one. And second is, also in terms of, doing a should cost analysis. I mean, in fact, even for that commodity, I know it's a very, unknown thing, but especially in this area, it becomes very, very important to understand what I'm paying for that differentiation that I'm asking from my suppliers. So I would end there with the last note that this quality aspect now is getting extended and sort of getting integrated with some more concepts like, sustainability and safety. Now, why I bring it out here, and because we have been hearing about since morning, I think along with quality, I think these two parameters also become very, very important factor when we are balancing between this value creation through either price or through quality. So that's a summary from my side.
Thanks. So I think what we heard is also like we have to understand quality across the value chain, right? So if we have a strong SRM, we would probably be able to understand our suppliers' capabilities, and at what cost that capability comes to us. Similarly, what customer wants, I think that is also there very important. If we disconnect the two, then probably our efforts on optimizing cost and quality may not bring the right results. So my next question is to Srinivas, right? So the question relates to how do we identify and eliminate inefficiencies in our supply chain, which might be affecting the final cost of procuring a good or service.
Thank you. Nice question. So ultimately, I think everybody is kind of hovering around savings. Cost savings, I think, is the end goal. Whatever way you ask, I think whatever way you do, ultimately everyone is interested in understanding what is your cost and what cost you are serving the customer. So inefficiencies in a way, I would say that in any business, so I come from a financial services background and I worked in telecom too. But wherever I could compare, like what even Nikhil was saying, right, the industries might be different. The concepts remain the same in terms of how to kind of remove the inefficiencies. What I would say is that there are 3-4 ways in which we could do. One is looking at your investments, right? Right from where to invest, when to invest, and in which product to invest, or maybe in which commodity to invest. So it starts from deciding your investments at the right time, right place, at the right quantity or quality. So that starts from that, and procurement plays a major role. So today, I would say that majority of the leaders whom we are seeing maybe occupying the CXO positions across, let's take an example of Apple. Tim Cook himself is from supply chain background, so he was leading the operations and he has been elevated to that. So many places the operations or supply chain or procurement is getting into the leadership position because they understand the business well. So procurement has to be part of that investment decisions when an organization is making. So when you make a right investment at the right time, at the right place, and then at the right cost, that itself is a efficient way of managing your cost, and it does not allow you to make any inefficient decision. So that's point number one. Second is that once you made that decision, then transportation and then supply chain planning is a critical role for any industry. For example, in financial services industry, from where do you raise your capital? That's a larger question to answer in terms of how do you raise your capital, where to raise, and then from at what cost you are raising the capital. If you come to commoditized businesses like, say, manufacturing or agri-products, so there also where to buy and what product at what cost at what time. So I think the gentleman, Mr. Sachin, who had touched upon strategic sourcing, from where to buy at what time, like what the example he said, that very well resonates to the decision in terms of deciding on your transportation cost or the acquisition cost, from where to buy is a critical factor. That removing those inefficiencies in your supply chain is a critical factor to lead to a cost saving, or get into a market with a better cost strategies gives you a lot of leverage in terms of placing your product and then getting the acquisition cost at the very lowest side. So third would be obviously your production cost, and it could be you investing on an equipment, on what kind of equipment, where to buy, and what kind of manufacturing process you decide. Or it could be as simple as whether I need to make it or I need to outsource it. So those could be your investment decisions in your production cost. And the next would be kind of taking it to the customer, right? Which market to kind of target, and how to kind of place your product in the market, and then how to market it within. And your packaging and other stuffs also make a lot of difference in terms of removing inefficiencies out of your supply chain. And lastly is kind of the collections efficiency. Obviously, we are here to kind of make money, and that's the goal of the entire organization. Obviously, how efficiently you are collecting back from the customers is also a key in terms of how procurement can help is deciding better commercial terms with the vendors. So deciding better payment terms with the vendor, or it could be tying up with somebody from a supply chain finance for bill discounting, or maybe at the inventory stage, if you could manage your inventories well. So those are some of the key points which could kind of remove the inefficiencies. And obviously, technology getting better day by day. If somebody could invest better on IoT kind of devices and then get right information at right place, the supply chain has to be so well intact that the information should flow seamlessly right from your demand to your supplier end to your factory end and your the other side of the supply chain too. So that these are the key things which I could say that your inefficiencies will get down, and you'll have better product coming out of your system at a better cost.
Thanks. So what Srinivas actually, I think maybe if I try to summarize, what we need to probably look at is a connected supply chain, right? And he used a very important keyword like invest. So a buying decision is also an investment decision. It need not be just to cater to the need of a certain, suddenly we need some item and we are buying it. If it is disconnected, probably that will be the scenario. So if we are more connected, the decision making is much more seamless and we do the risk mitigation also. So we actually remove inefficiency in the process. Thanks. My next question will be to Subodh. And two very important supply chain themes are part of this question. So one is resilience, right? So how do we respond to how much elasticity do we have in the system, or how much resilient we are to probably volatility or on supply chain availability, as well as maybe prices moving up and down, the demand-supply gap that we see. And also flexibility. You also need to be flexible, means you need to be agile enough to respond to certain arbitrage opportunities also in the market, which presents from time to time. So how do we manage these two? And also with the cost savings theme intact, how do we stay resilient or flexible, keeping this cost saving themes also within our ambit?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would like to address it in a different perspective. For any organization to have a good financial health, there are three main parameters: revenue, which is the top line; profitability, which is the bottom line; and cash, which is liquidity. And any organization with continuously improving these three parameters has a good financial health. As a procurement professional, we definitely contribute to two of the three parameters, to cash and to profitability. So I won't see it as a cost saving. Basically, we are here, we as procurement professional, we definitely improve the financial health of our organization. So that's my keynote here. Of course, we have been talking about a resilient or agile supply chain or procurement operations. But more than a resilient, flexible or agile procurement operations, what we need today is a smart or I would say innovative procurement approach. And I would say there are 6, this is my personal take on it, there are 6 verticals on which we can build our smart procurement organization. Number 1, visibility. If we have end-to-end visibility, right from your supplier's sourcing to his stock availability to your manufacturing process to your warehousing, distribution, and how it lands up at your customer's doorstep. If you have a total visibility in end-to-end operations, then that is going to help you improve your, I would say, forecasting a bit, because finally it's all demand and supply game. And if you are able to improve your forecasting accuracy, I mean the industry norm says we are today at around 45 to 50% of forecasting accuracy, and in case we are able to improve it to say 60-65% level, that definitely improves your cost. Second, I would say we can have an integrated approach. When I say an integrated approach, probably let us not look at procurement as a standalone function. In case we consider procurement as a part of the entire supply chain, there is planning, there is logistics, there is distribution, inventory management, warehousing, and procurement. So in case we consider the overall umbrella under supply chain, including procurement, probably we have an overall idea. Like we also saw one of the speakers saying about the total cost of ownership. So in case we have a complete visibility on the total cost of ownership, at what price finally are we going to deliver the product or the service to our customer, and what value out of that delivery are we going to give to our organization? If we look at from that perspective, that definitely will add a cost benefit to our organization. Third, I would say, which is in my opinion is the first one, actually, is people capability. In case we don't have the right people in the right positions, in the right place, whatever technology can do, probably people are there to drive the technology. And in case we don't have the right skill set to support the technology, probably we may not have the best of the profitable organization. And finally, our success depends on our team's success. So right set of people will definitely help us take the organization to the next level. The fourth vertical, I would say, is collaboration. When I say collaboration, we need to collaborate internally as well as externally. External stakeholder management is very critical. When I say external stakeholder management, it is, can we customize something to meet our customers' expectation? Because finally, today's keyword is customer experience, and if the customer is satisfied, that's how our salaries come. Finally, we are here because the customer is able to, place repeat orders or more orders or increase demand. So in case we are able to customize something which will give added value to our customers, then definitely that is going to help us grow our business. And at the same time, we need to collaborate internally with other functions like marketing, HR, finance. And I have been personally in all my previous organizations as well as this organization, we have been collaborating internally very well. So there are lots of ideas, lots of ideas come from different function heads. They need our support, and if we can provide our professional input, we definitely see a huge opportunity in bringing the functional cost down. Next, I would say, is risk management and risk mitigation. So with the technology, most of the procurement processes are now being digitalized. And with the technology coming in, like AI, ML, or even blockchain, if we are able to, we may not be able to predict, but if we can preempt what are the risks in our entire supply chain operations, probably, and if we are able to put some kind of measures in place which will restrict the impact, then probably we can be a successful procurement team. And the last point from my side would be a sustainable operation. When I say sustainability, it is not only the sustainability from environmental health and safety perspective, it is a sustainable process. Are we able to have a proper sustainable procurement process? I mean, there has to be a continuous improvement. Nothing is constant in this world. Today we follow a certain process. Is our procurement process flexible enough to, to accommodate changes for tomorrow? I mean, so if we are able to have that, that kind of continuous improvement in our process, which is a sustainable process, probably we can definitely get cost savings as a byproduct, because as a professional, we should not keep cost saving as the only target. Our target should be how best value we can add to the organization, and cost saving will come as a byproduct. That's how I look at it. So the 6 words which I said is VIP CSR. V is visibility, I is integrated approach, P is people capability, C is for collaboration, S is for sustainable operations, and R is for risk mitigation.
Thanks, Subodh. I think that's a very well articulated viewpoint. I think what you tried to say is this is a strategy actually, because it has a philosophy attached to it, and it can't be like we are resilient today without having the proper ingredients in place. I think the tools that are mainly what you spoke about is visibility, integrated, and people capability. I think that is also has to be there. And when that is there, you have a collaborative unit. Along with that, they will be able to adopt to and upgrade their modelings or their predictive nature of how they can probably look at commodities, where mostly the resilience factor is tested, I guess. So thanks for a very great response to that. Bhushan, I think you would also like to respond to this question on resilience and flexibility. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Anik. And I think thank you, Subodh, for putting out a very comprehensive view on this aspect of, agile and flexible part of cost management. I think one of the reasons why we are talking about this question in first place is the environment that we are in today, right? We would have heard the word VUCA, which defines the environment that we are in, which is volatile, uncertain, fairly complex, and highly ambiguous. To my mind, all these strategies and tactics that help us address these 4 aspects of the environment out there, which is VUCA, is probably what is needed to make the entire cost improvement initiatives in the organization more agile and more flexible. And there are two broader tracks to it. One is the softer one, which is to do with people, and second is really a process, strategy, structure-driven, where hard cash is involved. On the software aspect, I think gone are the days where the cost improvement initiatives was the forte of only procurement or manufacturing or some other departments. Now it's a commitment that each and every member of the organization makes to the larger world, right? And from that construct, owning the KPIs across the board is very crucial tactic to remain flexible in this, and I'll tell you why. Right? Say, I come from a consumer goods industry or consumer products industry, where I need to work very closely with the product development team or the R&D team, right? So when a procurement professional and R&D professional together take a goal of cost improvement initiative, what happens is all those aspects of re-looking at the product specification, questioning the holy cows in the organization, everything becomes relatively easy because, both are partners, if I may use the word partners in crime, right? So I think that's a very crucial aspect to start with, where, everybody is on board. And what happens is, one could, on the other side, or, being a devil's advocate, one may say that, everybody's responsibility or everybody's KPI is nobody's KPI, but when your cost improvement initiatives KPIs are aligned to what you personally achieve for yourself as well as for the organization, a failure on one side actually can pull up the entire team on another side. So if something goes wrong on the core product development side or on the core procurement side, can pull up the other department together every win. So that's one aspect. Second is, as I said earlier, because the entire environment is very complex, people also have, or the organization have also stopped, I would say, working in silos, right? So having a very structured program management approach is very crucial to remain agile and flexible. Earlier, what used to happen is cost improvement initiatives were taken up as a project or, as an initiative which will be driven till the project is valid. But many organizations nowadays are making this a full-fledged function where, it works as a project team where, subject matter experts are pulled from various departments and they drive this cost improvement initiative. So what happens is there is a continuous rigor to face any hurdles that the team faces, and then you are always chasing the right target. So having that program management approach is the second tactic to remain flexible in this journey, I would say. And during that course, having clearly defined milestones to see where you are and reviewing them and having a plan B, because many times many things will fail, but when you take up a target of cost improvement initiatives, it is not only your personal KPI. Organizations make their P&L basis the projected savings, right? And if those numbers don't come in, profitability goes for a toss. So having those plan B in place for, if not for everything, at least for a crucial initiatives which are important is the third important aspect of being flexible. Last two elements from my side. I think many times we get tangled with, being perfectionists. Okay, we want everything right. Data should be perfect, process should be perfect, and then only we'll start. But all we know, there is nothing called as perfect in life. So working with whatever you have, and having a larger concept of establishing a proof of principle in first place, right? So that helps you to understand whether you are going to succeed or not. If you are going to succeed, how much of effort it is needed from cross-functional team. If you are not, maybe it is better to fail early and then take up the next best thing. Because you have finite time. And then a money saved 1 year down the line by a perfect approach versus money saved today. Probably I will go for the second approach because it is hard cash at the end of the day, because I need to save cash for me to survive today. So I think that's the larger implication or impact that one would have by having this pilot or a proof of concept kind of an approach. And last but definitely not the least important is the partnership with your finance partners. So we talked about ROI. so I say as a procurement professional, we always talk about cost, we talk about profitability, we talk about budgets, we talk about variances, we talk about deficit. But unless we have got very close and aligned approach with our finance partners, it could be business finance, it could be procurement finance partners, it could be commercial team. Having them on board and partner in your journey is, I think, the most crucial element in this entire cost improvement initiative. Because what happens is, there is an additional hawkeye looking at this whole program, And again, we talked about VUCA, we talked about changes. What helps us to remain on track is how good equity you have with your finance partner. So the moment you have that in place, I think it becomes an internal auditor itself for your cost improvement initiative, because it's not only about executing the project, it is ensuring that every rupee that you save goes into the P&L, and that validation will be done by your finance partner. So in my opinion, combination of these 4 strategies probably would help, and I think in my experience they have helped me and my organization currently as well as erstwhile to remain afloat in this highly challenging environment. Yeah, thank you.
So thanks Bhushan. I think what he touched upon is, I think, what we also see in our the way we run our functions and how decisions get made. An interesting anecdote which maybe I can share here a bit is one of our CEOs, the companies that I work very closely with, he believes in a concept called value engineering. Now, what he means by that, and he takes a lot of pain to explain it to the entire group of people, starting from his direct reports to the functions below. Every town hall he would be saying about it. He believes resilience comes from the way you have been able to recognize the components in your value chain, right? So if you understand those components and you would design a strategy to be resilient for those components, long-term sustainability comes that way. So you will be responding to supply chain uncertainties faster and in an economically viable way. So very interesting. I think what Bhushan also touched upon is about alignment with other functions, specifically finance or maybe the budgets that come to us and what are the objectives of the company in terms of why we are doing this, right? So that is very important. He also touched upon an important anecdote from the startup industry, since I am from that. So I would like to say, if you have to fail, then fail fast. That's what we try, and so that we can pivot. We can pivot into the concept that can work, right? The marketable concept that can work. So thanks Bhushan. My next question is to Avinash, and we'll talk about an important aspect here. We just touched upon it a little bit, is how do we encourage cross-functional collaboration in the drive to build cost efficiency, and also how do we make sure it aligns to the company or the organization's broader business goals? Yeah, Avinash.
Yeah, thanks, Anik. Here I would use the term, rather than cost efficiency, I would use the term value initiative or value engineering, where cost, of course, is the important component of it. But when we say value engineering or value initiatives, that would be much more than just a cost. Here, I would say, I would like to share my experience that currently I am handling this direct materials procurement. So there, every year we have what is called as a list of value initiatives. So apart from the regular cost saving, which happens in terms of, price negotiation and all that, we identify certain value initiatives in our areas, which are the areas where we will work, and what is our tentative cost saving or what is the benefit that we are estimating from that. And along with that, we also capture what is my spend for that particular category in that year. So that gives me a complete picture. This is my spend, this is what I am targeting to do, and this is the benefit which I am expected to accrue. Now these initiatives, they get discussed. This initiative, the list, it goes to our senior management, Apex management, and on a regular basis, it gets reviewed from them. So that is when once the push comes from your senior management, then the next question which we get is, "Arey, isme aur log kon involved hai? Who are all involved apart from procurement, who are going to get affected by this initiative, right? So make the list of all those people also." So automatically what happens is, as we talk of this cross-functional involvement, it happens. And eventually it becomes, rather than the procurement project, it becomes everyone's project, right? So because everybody has got something in it, sorry, because anybody and everybody who is involved, the question that would come in his mind is, what is in it for me, right? So when we say of cross-functional team formation, it happens is everybody's concerns or everybody's issues, they are taken into consideration, and based upon that, the work happens, and whatever benefits in terms of whether it is cost saving or whether it is improved engineering or whatever it is. So that thing, that is what we can achieve. The first and the foremost thing, or rather the important thing in this is the driving this initiative from the top, because once that pressure from top comes in, automatically everybody pitches in and everybody starts getting involved. So importance of cross-functional team, it is crucial, because also one needs to understand that the product that I am buying, it is going through multiple hands. Say for example, I am buying packaging item. So the packaging material which I am buying, my plant is going to use it for packaging the product. My marketing person, he is going to sell it to his customers. So I need to ensure that even their concerns are also getting addressed. Otherwise what happens is, I just focused only on cost, and in the process it should not happen that my other stakeholders, they have a problem. So with when all these issues, when we think of it, then this cross-functional team or cross-functional approach, it always helps. So that is my take on this.
Thanks, Avinash. I think we all probably will unanimously agree that cross-functional approach is the most effective approach in an organization context. And unless you have them on board, and what really is the glue to this is when top management also believes, and actually the message is same, right? There's a consistency in the message, right from the top to the middle layer to the people who will actually probably doing it on the shop floor also. So thanks Avinash, and I think I will probably now, before I get to Sachin, I think we all have so far spoken and agreed that cost, probably just saying it as a cost efficiency is a little bit of a myopic view, right? And when I say myopic, you can tend to become short-sighted. That's the definition of myopia. But there are also, in our hurry to implement, we might make some mistakes, right? While we try to implement these initiatives. So Sachin, I would like you to speak about what, as per you, are the pitfalls that can hamper such strategies from becoming sustainable, because it makes sense to do it when it is sustainable, right? So what, as per you, are the pitfalls, and how do we kind of identify and avoid them?
Thanks, Anik, for this question. And this is really very good question and very close to my heart. For any leader or visionary, they should keep an eye on the pitfalls before taking any decision or having implementation of any decision. Having spent almost 2 decades in different industries, I have seen different growth cycles of the organization. When there is a huge impact on the financials in any financial year, the procurement role, it's a crucial role that we play. And definitely we start with how to start the analyzing what are the high spend items. You do the spend analysis and decide XYZ categories to address, right? Having spent almost 20 years in technology procurement, I was fortunate enough to have technology negotiations with the biggest like Microsoft, SFEs of the world, which are the major cost aspects or major cost contributors in the financial balance sheet, right? So I'll take an example of Microsoft, let's say. Let's say we have 10,000 employees who are using the E3 licenses. which are commonly used licenses, or Office O365 licenses, and it costs, let's say, X per license, right? And identifying Microsoft as a major cost contributor where we can have the cost impact during the financial challenges, we as a procurement professional, we decide to address this particular thing with a different way. Let's say we carry out the profiling activity with the licenses, and we identify why we are giving 10,000 licenses, each employee having the same license, because every employee is not delivering the same task. They have different requirements or maybe different functionalities that they use. Right? So after having the profiling activity, we understand that, let's say, 30% of the employees are entry-level employees, and they can be given a step-down version, let's say E1 licenses. Right? So we take this particular route to address this particular cost aspects. We decide, we go ahead, negotiate. But here comes the pitfalls that we normally fail on. So first is, definitely this is a kind of DNA change for the organization. The people who are working, who are habitual of using E3 licenses and their functionalities, one fine day you try to change it to E1, it's a major challenge. So what you need to think of is, there has to be a leadership communication going from top to bottom across the organization. Then only it can happen. So one first pitfall is, as he mentioned, involvement of leadership and communicating the right time and the right decision to implement this kind of changes is the first pitfall that I can see. Another is cross-functional team. In this particular case, let's say if we don't engage with the IT team, if we don't engage with HR team, or maybe the respective sales team, that these are the people who are going to get impacted because of this kind of decision, and that is not communicated before implementing this particular decision, then definitely it is going to give a tough time for these decision makers. This is another pitfall that I can see. Even if we go through these two aspects well, the next step is you need to have a right technology used, right processes built around this particular decision, so that you decide a particular process around the new license assignments and automate it. Instead of people providing the justifications why we are doing this, why not, instead of that you write the process, automate it, automate the license assignment, then there will not be any challenge. So these are few of the aspects that I have learned over 2 decades of experience, and these are the pitfalls definitely any leader has to keep it in mind.
So, yeah, thanks to Sachin for articulating with a use case, or I would say a very pertinent case study, which also he mentioned regarding the IT supports. I think what we also learned from him is selection of the initiative where you want to actually do the cost savings, and it actually, for example, he mentioned about doing spend analysis and selecting the area very carefully, right? And while you do it, you have to align cross-functional collaboration. If it affects the daily work life of people, then there has to be a buy-in from other functions like HR and also the top management, right? And I think why to do it, it's very closely linked to the topic of our panel discussion right now, is how do we manage and optimize our ROI? So driving cost efficiency with ROI is something we have to actually think in an integrated way. What is the ROI of reducing cost over this particular category or service? I think if the ROI is higher, the case presents itself, right? So with that, I think we would like to probably, any one of you, please, if you have some additional points, please do maybe comment and then we can maybe open for questions. I think we have some time, so we can. Please, you are invited to kind of share any further views that you might have.
On what Sachin said, I just like to add one point that because the initiative what he has talked about, we have also been trying to do it, or we did to some extent. One of the major pitfall which we identified is that having right change management agents in place, right? So one is publicizing this change across the organization. Second is when there is a change in people's way of working, then whom to approach for any guidance, or who are those change management agents across the organization is a key role, and it may come as a pitfall. That is what I have experienced. So that's what I would like to add to what Sachin had said.
So advocacy to the change.
Obviously, advocacy to change is
maybe more influencers who can really create a strong advocacy for the planned change. I think that is going to be one of the key ingredients for it to succeed. Shall we invite questions now? Yeah. Okay, so I think, I don't know, the day seems to be a little overloaded for all of us. But I think I must thank the panelists here. Every one of them have given a very, very pertinent view towards how to balance cost and also look at ROI and sustainability of it. What are the key drivers to get it done, and what are the things we should keep in mind, right, when we strategize and go for these initiatives. So I think with that, we come to an end of this particular panel discussion, and I thank all of you for your patient hearing, and I would say, of course, I believe there would be takeaways, right? And let's thank all the panelists here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To do the honors, I would request Mr. Anik itself to felicitate Mr. Subodh Nagarsekar.